This puzzle is one that everybody gets the first move right. Let's talk a little bit about why that's true. All right, well, if this was a game and you were playing white and you weren't a really good player and you just looked at the board and you said, oh my goodness, I'm down a pawn, I have to block the pawn, then you might miss the right idea. But when you tell people it's a puzzle, then everybody above the beginner level pretty much understands white has something that he can do. And then they start looking for the seeds of tactical destruction, which are twofold. One is that white has the more advanced pawns on the king side, and the other is that black's pawns are fixed on the color of the bishop. And that gives white the opportunity to play the first move, bishop to h6, threatening to play bishop takes g7 and get a protected passed pawn that's well on its way to queening. They also, of course, see that if black takes the bishop, that they just play g7, then they get a queen and they can win. So everybody sees that. And a lot of people at that point just say, all right, I solved the problem. I have the final answer, Dan, it's bishop h6. Now what's interesting about this puzzle, and one of the reasons why I selected it, is a lot of times I tell people, all right, well, let's play out the puzzle and show me that you can win. And they say, okay. They're even surprised that I might say that. And a lot of times it goes like this. They play bishop h6, and I say, all right, I can't take the bishop because you get a queen, so I'm going to come back and defend. And they play bishop takes g7, and I defend the pawn on f6. And they get out of the way of their g-pawn, and I go back, and they say, oh, good, I'm going to win your bishop. And I take, and they take, and now I play king d4, and they play bishop f6, and I play king takes e4, threatening to take their last pawn on f5, and of course there's no defense. So at this point they stop and they go, uh-oh, what's wrong? Well, the problem is, of course, that even if you get the first move right, you have to see the entire answer. So here, white made two mistakes. So let's look at those two mistakes. After bishop h6, bishop c5, bishop takes g7, bishop e7, so far so good. White can play bishop to h8 now, but if black plays bishop to f8, instead of winning the bishop, you should delay that for a move and play bishop takes f6. Now if the black king goes to d4, you can play g7, bishop takes g7, bishop takes g7, and if king takes e4, f6, and white gets a queen. So that would be a major improvement. One of the things you have to learn from looking at this is if you see a combination, you have to stop after every move and think what you're doing. If you rattle off the moves really fast just because you saw them after the first move, that's very often a bad idea. If you see A, B, C, and you think that's really good for you, and you play A and your opponent plays B, you shouldn't immediately play C. You should reanalyze C, make sure it's as good as you think it is, and even if it is as good, unless it wins easily, look for a better one. So here, g7 is a major mistake. White could also have improved a different way. Instead of just getting out of the way and continuing to hit the f6 pawn, simply play bishop h6, and now block the black bishop from sacrificing itself for the g-pawn, and that would win even easier. So white has two improvements over the bad line that a lot of people play: bishop h8, bishop f8, g7, bishop takes g7, bishop takes g7, king e4, bishop f6, king e4, and draw. For instance, bishop takes, and you can take the bishop or the pawn here, but just for sake of completeness, we'll take the pawn. Draw. All right, so I'd expect almost everybody watching this video to get the first move right, but one of the reasons why I picked this puzzle is it's not enough to get the first move right. You have to get the entire idea right. And if you just kind of wave your hands and say, all right, I play bishop h6 and I win, that's a little sloppy. You don't get to be a good player by doing stuff like that. You really want to go through the sequence and see if you can find the best defense and make sure that you can beat it.